Hello, everyone. Welcome to the DeFi Summit. Our exciting panel discussion topic today is how gaming will drive the mass adoption of NFTs and blockchain technology. So we have three gentlemen as my panelists today: James Ho, Senior Business Strategist from Animoca Brands; Stephen Browne, co-founder of Lepricon; Jason Brink, CFO of Gala James. My name is Bowie Lau. I'm founder of Macho and Mayspire, also a partner of True Global Ventures. So let's get a self-introduction of each panelist and tell us how you got into the gaming space. Let's start with James.
Hey guys, I'm James from Animoca Brands. I'm part of the senior brand strategy side. So really look at a lot of the investment deal flow, partnerships, and ecosystem. So I got into gaming quite early on in my career in strategy for more of a console and Xbox. Sort of looked around technology and kind of fell back into blockchain about 3 or 4 years ago.
Thank you. Good to have you. Stephen?
Great to be here this morning, and thank you, Bowie. I think, I've been in the blockchain space for now about 4 years, and gaming had always been kind of a vertical within the blockchain space that, we knew that was ripe for disruption and a lot of innovation could take place in it. And kind of having talked around it for the last number of years, I decided to do something about it last year. And so that was really the impetus. We could kind of see that a lot of things were here to stay, and a lot of innovation was kind of at the stage where it was ready to be deployed to the consumer. So that was the moment, and then that's when we started developing and launching Lepricon.
Thank you. Good to have you. Jason?
Hey guys, my name is Jason Brink. A lot of the people watching may know me as Bitbender. I'm the CMO of Gala Games. I've been a gamer for my entire life, and it's been something that's been in my blood since I was a really little kid. And I've been in the blockchain space really since about 2013. And I think that gaming is going to be the thing that actually brings users to the blockchain space at the end of the day. Mass adoption comes through games, and that's how people are going to come, and that's how they're going to stick. So super happy to be here with all of you.
Thank you, Jason. Yes, I totally agree with you. I do play games. I think I played games since I was a child. Even now with the pandemic, I think the amount of time for all the people who are stuck at home or who stepped in the indoor space have increased significantly. So as a matter of fact, I do play a lot of games in my own time now. So let's talk about the latest game development in the NFT and the blockchain space. According to nonfungible.com, the market activity has increased significantly. We can talk about the active NFT wallet. In 2019, we have about 112,000 wallets versus 2020, we have over 222,000. As of now, I think to my knowledge, in March 2021, is already over 700,000 active NFT wallets. So NFT gave a lot of, good advantages. Has this true digital ownership. You have the unique rarity, and also has the ability of immutable, and has the interoperability in multiple ecosystem. So, but how the NFT and the blockchain really changed the gaming space? What are the impacts? What are your views on it, Jason?
I think that one of the things that players have been hungry for a really long time is ownership. Back when we were all kids, and I think that most of us on this call are old enough to remember what it was like to go to school with a video game cartridge in your backpack and swap it with a friend because you had just finished it and your buddy really wanted to borrow it. When gaming went all digital, when we started doing everything with downloads, we lost that sense of ownership. There wasn't even a case anymore. You'd buy an empty box with a code on it, And what gaming and gamers really need is a sense of physicality, a sense of ownership, a tangibility that shows that you can take something, earn it in the game, own it, and give it to a friend. And that's how we shared games when we were younger, and that's how we will share NFTs and gaming experiences in the future.
Sure. How about you, James? What do you think about it?
I find it quite interesting. I think part of our sort of thesis, we've built several games that are applying the interoperability as well as true digital ownership. One of the key sort of lessons we're seeing from our game F1 Delta Time as we designed it and launched the Rev token is that there's a lot of new key learnings we're finding from the community. So once we launched the second series, the 2020 F1, people started trading. People that couldn't afford it were borrowing off each other and renting off each other. So they gave us a lot of insight on what true digital ownership means, and gave the team, the dev team, a clear idea and a roadmap what to build. So we're launching a rental system. We're lowering and entering lower cars for people to play, to learn. But the beauty to all this is that as part of our token design, we now have an opportunity to embed DeFi mechanics into gameplay, rewarding the users and seeing a clear way of competition that they can earn and upgrade their cars.
Sure. How about you, Stephen?
Yeah, I think a lot of the innovation is happening so fast. It's really hard to put your finger on it. But for instance, Unity, have an SDK to incorporate NFTs. Engine have a particularly sophisticated NFT SDK. There's a number of iOS games I've seen in the office that people have shown me that have NFTs already built into them, and you can connect your wallet to them. So I think all of that is fantastic. My only concern is that it's as much as when you go onto Amazon or eBay, most of the purchases people make are on the top 1 or 2 pages, and then there's 500 pages of stuff that nobody buys. So I suppose we're not an advocate for NFTing every in-game asset, because I think it can create a lot of so-called digital junk. So I think they're great. I don't think there might be a tendency to NFT everything in terms of in-game assets. I don't necessarily think that's a solution, but I think a lot of the innovation is super exciting.
Yes, absolutely. So gamers already understand the concept of virtual currency, also the digital ownership, right? And definitely they are more likely to be the early adopters in the blockchain space. And gamers also push the technology development and even entire industry forward. For example, like the personal device graphics, the processing power, the capacity, and even the game software. So let's talk about the use cases. So Stephen, I know that you're the co-founder of Lepricon. I know there's a community. Can you tell us a little bit more about your project?
Sure, absolutely. So Lepricon is a gamified DeFi platform, essentially, focused. Our launch titles are hyper casual, prediction based games. I think we solved some of the problems in terms of the gas heavy environment of Ethereum. So we've developed certain tech solutions around that using other chains and do some innovations. And a gasless sidechain we have called Lepricon. I think more broadly speaking, the mission, and Bowie, you articulated it, is that let's say the hardcore crypto people or the crypto degens, they're already converted, and there's a lot of people who are gamers, who I colloquially call people like my mother and my sister, who don't have a wallet, don't have kind of any really knowledge of crypto, but they sure know how to play hyper casual games when they're on the bus. So it's about appealing to those we're calling crypto curious people. How do you get them their first wallet? How do you get them understanding how the blockchain works and transferring virtual assets? So there come some of our goals for 2021.
Thank you, Stephen. Jason, let's talk about your game platform, Gala Games. I know I did a little research. You have one specific objective in mind, which is to give the power back to the gamers. Can you share a little bit about your platform?
Absolutely. So Gala Games was founded by Eric Schiermeier, who was one of the co-founders of Zynga. We have a team of about 50 developers from the gaming space and from the blockchain space. And we believe at a very fundamental level that when it comes to gaming, blockchain should be invisible. It should just be part of the tech stack that enables a game to work without being something that's obtrusively crammed into people's faces. we found that, in fact, there's a 500% increase in, click-through when we remove the word blockchain from a landing page, for example. Within that, which I think is a fascinating statistic, given the space that we're in. And for us, we really focus on this concept of giving power back to the gamers, creating games and gaming opportunities that enable people to own their own assets. And to interact with one another. We have a massive community that is very, very quickly growing that all center around this basic concept. We recently brought on a new president of games, John Oswald, who was formerly of EA. He was the head of mobile product. And we're bringing new people on all the time to bring these games onto platform. I think we've got 18 different games in flight right now in various stages of preparation for release. And
cool.
It's all
How many
around...
How many active users currently on the platform?
On the platform itself, so right now there's a game called Townstar that is very, very what's the word I'm looking for here? Fanatically played by a very tight group of individuals. We've got about 330,000 monthly active users on the platform right now. And some of those aren't playing Townstar because it's a farming simulation, which isn't personally my type of game. So there are a lot of people who don't play it, but that's kind of where we are right now.
Great. Thank you for sharing. So James, Animoca Brands is famous now because you are just recently became the number 10th unicorn in Hong Kong. So big congratulations to that. But for people who might not understand Animoca Brand, can you share a little bit about what's the Animoca Brand's investment strategy in the space, and also your thought on the play to learn and metaverse strategy?
Sure, thank you. So I think we started quite early in late 2017. How Animoca got into the space was an investment, coincidentally out of Vancouver, Dapper Labs. So that was our early sort of foray into understanding how people were using the ERC 721 with CryptoKitties. That really excited the company. I think the company took our founder Yatsu took a pivot and really focused the company on fully decentralization and true digital ownership. And off the back of that, in 2018, we focused really heavily on fueling these young companies, which several of them have become quite large in the ecosystem, including Axie Infinity, OpenSea, Bitski. So we were investing through our balance sheet as we believed with strong conviction that the sector is going to grow. Nobody saw how quickly it grew, but I think clearly DeFi was a driver to bringing NFT to 2021. So far to date, we've done close to 60 investments. From ranging from different sizes, from acquisitions to game studios like Pixel, Sandbox, to acquiring sort of AAA studios from San Fran called Unreal. So to date, we have on sort of our pipeline, we have about 77 million users across the portfolio of acquisitions. We also have close to 300 branded IP partners within our sort of realm, which is our DNA. And we do truly believe that our investment strategy is going to accelerate the industry. And we agree with Jason that we think gaming is going to onboard the first billion people onto blockchain. You create a great game, nobody can deny that gameplay and users will come. But the beauty and the strength of it is that you're going to start onboarding people onto understanding NFT and having a wallet access. So we think that's quite strong. Two key themes that we really, really strongly believe in is play to earn. We invested in a company out of the Philippines called Yield Guild Games, which is doing a wonderful job and really sort of democratizing accessibility to digital assets to people in less fortunate circumstances. And they're logging on different guilds to play games, effectively earning an income. And the team run by Gabby Dijon has done an amazing job at growing and expanding the portfolio of games and how we sort of integrate it into people's daily lives. DeFi has unlocked a lot of power to earning. We think gaming has even a lot more powerful sort of tool to democratize earning capabilities. The second one is that we do see and have been betting on metaverses. We think metaverses, we've clearly seen walled garden metaverses like Fortnite driving massive user adoption, right? Close to the 500 million users registered. We see this even accelerating even faster on the, with true digital ownership. And we've made some strong sort of investments in that area as well too.
Great. Yeah, I personally really appreciate the play to earn strategy because during the pandemic, I think a lot of people really lost their job, especially in the developing countries. These directly affect their lives big time. So I think through gaming, they actually can play to earn and bring food to the table and provide to the family. So I think this is very meaningful. So, Stephen, question for you. What are the opportunities for investors now? And how can the investor really ride the NFT wave?
I think cautiously, just from a lot of conversations I'm having with investors, the kind of finer points of it, they probably still need to do a lot of education on. So I've had plenty of people come to me over the past year saying, "Oh, I have 100K. I want to put it into something. What would you recommend?" And my typical response is, well, in terms of the large, let's say, DeFi venues, such as Compound and Aave, I probably point them to there and say, become familiar with how these things work before you do anything. That's kind of the latest emoji or food item followed by a verb. So I kind of think the opportunities are certainly there. I mean, everything from the boring kind of put your stable coins here, earn a yield, to kind of things that are could attract a very high yield, that potentially could have a rug pull on them, unfortunately. But it's still the Wild West out there, is my opinion. I think DeFi at the moment, I can't remember the percentage, but represents, a fraction of what the overall crypto market is. And the crypto market represents a fraction of what the overall financial market is. So I think DeFi still got a long way to go. And I think people who are still, there's plenty of people who have Bitcoin who would never dream of putting it in DeFi. And I think that's just a reality. And obviously will change, but it's going to be another education cycle in parallel with the general crypto education cycle.
Yes, I agree. I think one of the main key is to get yourself educated first. So no matter what you do, you want to make an informed decision to make an investment, you want to make a change in your career. I think first thing you really need to do is to educate yourself in the space. And I think this is still quite young to enter the market. I think there's still lots of potential there. So James, I want to talk about the Sandbox as one of your subsidiary companies. So what are the latest development on Sandbox?
Sure. I think Sandbox, as you know, is part of the Pixel team, part of the Animoca family. They've been sort of busy at really onboarding and building. But the closest similarity is they're kind of like a Minecraft or Roblox of the blockchain. The team has been sort of recently launched their developer diary, which is quite, you could find it on Medium, which sort of shares the multiple teams that are building on the Sandbox land in tandem. So the different, one of the ones I've seen recently is that they built a whole science park, which is very in line with education and teaching in a different methodology. They're also hitting a lot of the consumer sort of projects. They recently announced a project with Richie Houghton and deadmau, who also collaborating on the sort of metaverse. And they recently kicked off their marketplace on the lands. So what we're seeing is an acceleration on a lot of brands sort of building onto the Sandbox. And I think that this end of the year, they're going to start announcing a lot more new partnerships.
Yes, Sandbox is exciting because the reason why I know because Chocoball Ventures, since I'm a partner of it, we actually early investor on Sandbox. So with the latest development and all these virtual land sales, they are doing an extremely outstanding job. So we are very proud of them. Jason,
at one point here. So I think to your last question to Stephen about investments, I definitely agree that there's a lot of sort of vaporware in the market because people are just launching and selling NFTs without having the understanding on utility or long-term use. I think it's good to not start with such a high check in terms of like 100,000, but really understand the fundamentals because the information is flowing so fast. Even for people in the industry, trying to understand the multi-chain and multi-investments. I myself am an investor too as well, and there's so much coming, across the markets. People are building on Solana, people are building on Polkadot. You need to get familiar with first protecting your assets and dabbling into DeFi and then NFTs and playing some of the games, right? But what I do recommend is looking at the lands. The land has been one of the interesting investments in the NFT space.
Well, you guys, Sandbox are sold out within minutes when they came out. So basically, this is really difficult to catch the virtual land sales during that time. But then I think you can go to buy this type of virtual land on OpenSea. I think this is another way where you can catch the secondary market for that.
When people take a deep into land is actually mimicking real world physical land. Whereas, in Sandbox, when Atari announces a piece of land, the land around it goes up by 20%, right? And we're not even starting to build yet. So the tools are being launched to allow the creators to build on it. So I find that it shouldn't be a one-pronged land strategy. It should be a multi-metaverse strategy because there's a lot of new metaverses launching with land. So I find it fascinating that it's actually accelerating faster than Hong Kong property. The virtual land. So that's very hard to do because Hong Kong is one of the most expensive in the world. But Sandbox is beating out the prices in here. So I do think that we're going to see some very interesting sort of projects being built on Sandbox.
Yes, the opportunities are quite unlimited. You can own, you can brand the land, you can allow the game developers to build the games on top, and you can charge them for that. You can charge any, game players to come and play the games on your platform. I think there's so many different ways of the land, and definitely is one of the good idea to own some of them. So Jason, I want to talk about the future of the NFT consumption and the applications in the different industry. So we talk about gaming, but what do you see the futures of NFT?
Well, I think that there's a lot of interesting things in the future of NFTs. I mean, it kind of started out with art, right? Art was one of the original beginning spaces of like, hey, there's this cool blockchain thing. Wouldn't it be neat if I had to put a picture on it, right? It began with that. And I think that it's going to be rapidly moving through every industry. I mean, from the art side, we recently signed a deal with Frank Miller. You guys may be familiar with him from 300 and Sin City. It's the 30th anniversary of his original Sin City release. So we're doing some really, really cool stuff with him in that area. And we're also talking to some various some sports related organizations and things like that. But I think that once people get used to the idea that you own something that you can actually hold on to in your digital wallet, an asset, like a song that you can then trade. I mean, so it's not like you're buying stuff, from iTunes, and then if you want to give it to somebody else, you get a cease and desist letter from Apple. You can actually be like, hey, look, I love this song. Now it is yours. Enjoy. I think that once people get used to that experience, there really isn't any going back. Because that's sort of the way that technology marches forward, right? I mean, you start out with something that is kind of it's new and interesting, and then it gains mass adoption, and then it becomes absolutely 100% ubiquitous. And I think that that's the way NFTs are going to become. I mean, people aren't going to know them as NFTs. Nobody's going to think, oh, this is my non-fungible song. It's just going to be, this is my song. This is my game item. This is my, key that allows me to access a new level on this game. This is my token that allows me to play this game in an arcade online somewhere. That's what it's going to be. It's just going to become a part of life, like a cell phone or a car.
Yes, music definitely is one of the key development in the NFT space, because currently, do you know the real artists or the musicians only get 12% of all the revenue in the music businesses? That's it, 12%. But the rest of them actually go to the middleman, like record labels, managers, streaming services, publisher. So this system really undervalue the music and the benefits of corporations at the expense of artists. So I think enabling NFT really enables the true digital ownership and give it back to the artist, right? So I think the the gaming, not the gaming, the music in these NFT space really opens a lot of doors and give the value back to the originator. So I want to ask each of you, tell me one of your favorite game. Stephen.
Blockchain game or just game ever?
Game. So any game.
Okay. Well, this is going to sound really weird, but I hadn't. We actually just got a Switch for the office, and I'd never really played Switch before. So we have Mario Kart on it, and I remember playing Mario Kart in the 90s, I guess, on the SNES, and that was my
Rainbow Road, baby.
Rainbow Road, baby. Yeah. So it's fantastic I hadn't played it on Switch, so it's fantastic to kind of see it all these years later, and it's kind of the same gameplay, new and improved. So yeah, definitely Mario Kart for me. Kind of could play it all day, every day with the right people. Anyway.
Cool. This is a game I think everybody must have played that in the when they were a child. So sure, absolutely. James.
I have two that come to mind that really sort of bring back a lot of memories. I think when this shows my age, but when we first played the Nintendo, I'm not sure if you guys had Duck Hunt. I think you had that gun. I think I was like, whoa, this is how games played. But then most recently, I think I was playing Final Fantasy. And Final Fantasy, the graphics just really suck you in. And I think I was at that week, I was having dreams about Final Fantasy. So I was definitely embedded into Final Fantasy.
Cool. Jason?
I will also, I have two as well. Final Fantasy, though, Final Fantasy VII specifically. And I say this because it's kind of a counterpoint to what you just said. It proves that the graphics really don't matter all that much to have a compelling game that just draws you in completely. And, I mean, when Ares got killed in Final Fantasy VII, I was a little bit emotional. I'm not gonna lie. And exactly right. It's a moment. Anyone who's played Final Fantasy VII, we know, man. It's okay. And for me, the other game that matters a lot, and I actually have the cover art printed on aluminum and hung on my wall, was a game by Troika Games called Arcanum, and a lot of people haven't played it, but it's an RPG that's kind of set in this interesting magical mechanical world. And the game director for Mirandus, which is one of the games that we're currently developing, was actually one of the key people who did the world building on Arcanum. And when I discovered that, I had a little bit of a fanboy moment because it was one of my favorite games. I played through the thing 10 times. Absolutely loved it. I just love the deep stories and the intricacies and things like that. Makes it magic.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. I think back in the old days, all your parents would say, oh, don't spend so much time on your game, focus on your study, and, game is bad for you. But then I think now I wouldn't tell my kids, I have two lovely boys, I wouldn't tell them, it's bad for you, don't play games. Actually, I encourage them to do that, just as long as they have a limited amount of time looking at the screen and the TV, all this stuff. So, yeah, so let's to give some final thought or conclusion of our topic today. What would you tell the audience that either if there is any other opportunities and a call for action to everyone? What are your thoughts about it, James?
Yeah, so I think that's a great point. I think the Hong Kong government, in particular to Cyberport, has been very proactive in supporting this initiative. And really sort of redeploying the messaging around just gameplay, because a lot of Asian families still feel gameplay is a negative for the kids. But the industry in itself is growing as a whole, and there's a lot of opportunities that they want to start educating kids on. So I think my sort of stance is that sure, kids can play games, but I think they need to understand that this is accelerating at a stage that is same size, if not bigger, than professional sports. And I think that there's a lot of opportunities outside of just playing games. So, being a dreamer to be a pro sport is very hard, but working in the gaming industry, this offers a lot of opportunities in both development, management, etc. So definitely think the industry has a lot to offer to people that love gaming.
Okay, if someone wants to perhaps invest, what would you tell
my investment
the
strategy
audience?
would, I think, to first understand, I think we're starting to see a lot of, obviously that this market has been quite hot for some time with the recent sort of slowdown, the dump, but I think there still exists a lot of opportunities to invest. Again, to study and start getting deep into the information of how gameplay will look like. Obviously, what's launching and how it interact in terms of that. I think the main thing that we typically look at is token economics. How do you look at the token, and how do you look at the DAO structures or the decentralized organization structure? How is it managed for the future? And as a company that holds 6 tokens internally, we'll likely have 10 tokens in our company by end of the year. We put a lot of effort into looking at the longevity of the games. How do we build it out so that we're not, taking care of the game players, and the game, and not every game is going to be a grade game, but you have the ability to keep building on top of the tokens. So Rev, as an example, is a Rev Motorsports title. So we're going to have 2 to 3 new titles launching on it very soon. Formula E, MotoGP. So we do think that we're going to see better and better games on blockchain as we grow with different scaling solutions and also different SDK kits supporting it. But definitely do your homework in terms of what to invest in. But I think the industry is very exciting.
Yes, absolutely. Jason, what are your views? Final thoughts?
Final thoughts for me. I mean, I think that one of the things that's really important here is that at the end of the day, all of us are part of this revolution that is fundamentally redefining gaming. And we have, as a species, I think, over the last really couple hundred years, we've lost sight of the importance of play in daily life. It's really fundamentally a human thing to do. I mean, we are, at the end of the day, we're primates and we're supposed to play. We're not supposed to sit in cubicles. We're not supposed to, live in windowless boxes. We're supposed to be really involved and enjoying the world. And I think that playing games is a great way to do that. I mean, I know that sounds a little bit weird, like, here, play, look at the screen. But I think that it is an important thing for us to remember as humans. And that's we're part of this revolution together.
Great. Thank you. And Stephen?
I really liked how you put that, Jason. I suppose my final thoughts would be, anybody watching this, who kind of has a tangential or high level understanding, but has never dived in, afraid of losing money or just don't really understand the space, I would say, take $500, $1,000 if you have it, open a MetaMask account, put it in, split that money into a couple of different, protocols or products or apps. And even if you lose it, that's your education fee, and you're going to learn so much in that process of how crypto moves around, how virtual assets go to OpenSea, buy an NFT, buy some Rev tokens, set up a Gala Games node, do all of that stuff. And the learnings that you will get in doing that will be, easily worth the price of the crypto that you bought. So that would be my final thought.
Yes, I totally agree that no matter what, the first thing is to get yourself educated, and spending $100 USD as or even $500 is like your tuition fee to get into the space. You learn so much by owning a wallet, safeguarding your private key and all this stuff. So you learn so much throughout the whole journey. So according to statistics, that there are estimated 2.5 billion gamers in the world, and the active users is about 4.54 billion people. So this is the data as of January last year. So it's about 59% of the global population. So if you see the ratio, so we still I think a lot of opportunity for the game development for all the people to enter the gaming space, and these remaining people really have. I think it's still really at the early stage in the beginning of if in terms of the blockchain space, as we say. So I think give it a try. Have own a wallet. Spend a little money and get to know about the space. I think this is what I personally will share with the audience. But more importantly, don't ever think that another problem is the fear of missing out. You will never be able to catch every single wave. So, and the key is to really get yourself educated first. So, but I think that's all for our panel discussion today. And once again, thank you very much, gentlemen, Jason, James, and Stephen for joining. And we look forward to seeing you all in the near future.